Welcome to Flipped Classroom. This unit is probability, and we are looking at Venn diagrams and two-way tables. Our learning intention is we are learning to read and create Venn diagrams and two-way tables, and our success criteria is I am successful when I can create a Venn diagram and create a two-way table. Let's have a look at this challenge. I've rolled a dice several times and I've recorded what has rolled. Based on these trials, what's the chance of rolling a 6, an odd number, and a number no more than 2? So in rolling a 6, we just look at the number of times I got a 6, and that was 8 out of 40, and I can simplify that to 1/5. For rolling an odd number, I look at the odd numbers and I count how many times I rolled the odd numbers, and that was 4, 8, and 10. So I add those together and I get 22 out of 40. And again, that simplifies down to 11 over 20. And finally, a number no more than 2. That means we want to get either a 1 or a 2. So I look at the number of times I rolled a 1 or a 2. And that was 10 out of 40. So that equals 1/4. Now, these numbers don't add up like we would expect using theoretical probability. And that's because sometimes the experiments do not come out as we predict. So Venn diagrams are a nice way of conveying information that's easy to read and also shows both the sample space and the events that have occurred. So let's roll a dice, a normal 6-sided dice. We've got the sample space of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Now I'm going to set A to be the event of rolling an odd number, and we know that those are the numbers 1, 3, and 5 on a dice. So on the left hand side, I've drawn a Venn diagram and I've shaded the event A, showing those events, and I've made sure that it's in a box to show all of that sample space. So we put the box around to show the sample space, and we draw the events as circles in the Venn diagram. On the right hand side, we're showing the complement of A or not A, and this is shading the area outside of that event circle. So the Venn diagrams that most people remember have multiple events on it. So I'm going to show one with 2 events. One event is for the students who study art and one for the students who study biology. So when I look at a class of 20 students, I find that 5 of them study art, 9 study biology, and 2 study both. So using this information, I'm going to set up my 2 events. A is those that study art and B is those that study biology. So here is my Venn diagram. And again, I've drawn the box to show the sample space. And in the A circle and the B circle, and inside I've put the number of students for each. Now, if you have a look directly under the label A there, I've got 3, not the 5, because I had to separate out those 2 students who also study biology. But in the whole total A circle, I've got 3 plus 2, so that's my 5 students who study art. Likewise, for the biology, in the B circle, I've got the 2 and the 7 to make up to 9. Now I can shade in event A, and I can clearly see that there are 5 students that was shaded in there. And likewise, I can shade in B and show that there are 9 students shaded in there. You'll also notice that there's an 8 outside of that circle. And that 8 are the 8 students who don't study art or biology. And the way we got that was we started with our 20 students. We subtracted the 3 for only art, the 7 for only biology, and the 2 that studied both. And that gave us 8 students remaining. So those were the 8 students that didn't study either of those 2 subjects. Now, when we're looking at probabilities, we usually use a couple of different operators when trying to look at a Venn diagram. One of the operators is the AND operator. And let's have a look at a couple of the different regions using that operator. So the one that we've already used before is the center region, and that is event A and event B. So in this case, it was the 2 students who studied art and biology. So if we asked for the number of students who cover event A and event B, we'd select those 2 students in that intersection. We have A and not B. That's the section that is just the A region, but not that intersection. So we have just the 3 students who only study art and don't study biology. Likewise, we have not A and B. These are the students who only study biology but not art. Now, I could write this as B and not A, but usually we put this in alphabetical order. And finally, we have the area that's outside of both the events, and this is not A and not B. So these are the students who do not study art or biology. The other way of describing events is using the OR operator. So here's a slightly different Venn diagram. We're looking at people who drink tea and coffee, and we can see that there are 12 people who drink both, 2 who only drink coffee, 5 who only drink tea, and 1 who drinks neither. With this, I've already shaded the area that is the OR, so people who drink coffee or tea, and we can say that 19 people drink coffee or tea. Now, this is slightly different to either or, as if we're doing either or, we don't count the 12 people who drink both. But when you just see the word or, we also include those people in that intersection. So let's create a two-way table from our Venn diagram. Now, two-way table is another way of showing that information. So across the top, I've got my event B's, so biology and not biology. And down the side, I've got my event A, art and not art, or the complement of art. I've added in an extra row and an extra column for the total for each. So starting off, let's put in the numbers that are directly on that Venn diagram. So we can go in there and we can put in the 2 that's in that intersection that study both art and biology. And then we can put in these 3 students who only study art but not biology, the 7 students who study biology and not art, and the 8 students who don't study either. We can then just add up our totals. So we can get our totals for biology and not biology, we can get our totals for art and not art, and then we can get our totals for how many students were in the whole sample. And that final number in the bottom right hand corner should add up to how many students we originally surveyed. So for our reflection today, how will you remember the difference between one event and another occurs, and when one event or another occurs? Go back to our Venn diagrams and the shading and think of how that works. As always, like the video and subscribe for more videos on maths.